Welcome to Transformations, interviewing people changing our world. I'm your host, Diane J. Shaver, and as you've noticed, each of our interviews is with someone who had something that really touched them, and they decided to do something about it, and they did. So I hope you see from that how much power each one of us has to make a change in this world. And today I'm speaking with somebody who really made a change in so many children's lives, and you're going to love her and love what she's doing. And her name is Chigbu. Hope I've got that right. And she is the founder of Irede Foundation, and it is doing such an magnificent job. And we're talking to her in Nigeria, of all places. So this all started when her daughter was born without a shin bone, and Crystal, being a mom, decided to do something about it. But I'm going to let her tell you in person how she did this and what she did and how this is helping so many other children. So welcome, Crystal. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dan, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Ah, that's good. So tell us our story. And what's your daughter's name?
Her name is Beulah.
Her name is Beulah?
Beulah. Yes, exactly.
Okay. So what happened?
About 10 years ago, I gave birth to my daughter with a missing tibia and a missing patella of her right leg. And immediately we gave birth to her, we were actually told that we needed to amputate the limb. And that was a really tough decision to make at the time. For perspective, she's our first child. And also in Nigeria and even in Africa at large, having a child with disability is like a taboo. It's something no one wants to talk about. It's a shame. And so it really was tough for us to make a decision to get the limb amputated. After 2 years and 3 months, we decided to amputate the leg because at this time she was in school and being able to move around was very difficult for her. So we had to go ahead and make the tough decision. Some months after we did that, she went back to school. We got her artificial limbs, and then she started living her life to the fullest. And I just wondered how many other parents were going through the same pain. However, in their own situation, they are unable to talk about it, or there was really no one to help them out. And so I decided I was going to start blogging and talking about managing children with disabilities and also, how I managed my own situation and came out of it. And afterwards, I started meeting more people because when I started talking about it, then people will write me letters, then people will DM me and say, you know what, we're going through the same issue, but we don't know how to handle it. And so I met a child that had the same congenital issues with my daughter, but his was on the upper limb and he had not been to school for 2 years. And so I decided to take that child on. And the aim was to help him get back to school. And that's basically how Irede Foundation started. Wow. And so we started, relating to one child after the other, one parent after the other, going through the same issues that I had been through, and generally to just help them and put a smile on their faces.
Wow, that's such a powerful thing. And I guess I was listening to what you said about when a child has a disability in Africa. We just do it differently in the States, but it's exactly the same thing. And I can imagine what it's like for a mother. So how did you go about finding this limb? How did you even know where to look?
So at the time it happened, basically I decided to Google it. And so I started checking if in Nigeria I would find someone with the same situation, and I found none. I continued my search and I realized that there were other people outside the country. So when I say outside the country, outside of Nigeria, that had one disability or the other, or were amputated and they had artificial limbs. And I saw people that were, living their life to the fullest. So I realized that it was possible for my daughter to live a fulfilled life. Then the challenge became even taking the decision to amputate the limb. And so I continued the research. I started writing hospitals in India, in the States, in the UK, sending the x-rays to them, asking what solutions existed and what advantage I could, if I could take advantage of any of those solutions. Eventually, I wrote Children's Hospital in DC, and they requested that I should come to the US. So I went with my daughter to the US, and they did, she did x-rays and they did a check on her. And again, they said, she would need to undergo an amputation on that limb to be able to live her life to the fullest. So I decided to come back home and then take the decision and get her artificial limb. So that's really how I got to know about artificial limbs, other people using it and living their life even with it. People were running with it, people were dancing with their limbs. And so I basically projected and imagined when one day my husband would be able to walk her down the aisle. And I realized that, not taking the decision is not the best thing. So we went ahead and we decided to do the amputation for her.
Wow, that's a hard thing. And how is this process? Like, let's say you found recycled limbs. Is that what you did for children?
So what we do right now is we actually make brand new limbs for the children that we give artificial limbs to. So when we initially started, we would order the components and then have the components customized for the kids here. So brand new, everything new. However, from 2019, we started getting a lot of people that have used their limbs and they realize that, the limbs are still in perfect shape, but probably because they have insurance or probably something, they outgrew their limb and they needed, someone else to use the limb, ship the limbs down to Nigeria. And so right now we are also doing some recycled limbs for the kids. So we look at the components that can be reused and see how we customize it for the children that need them.
Wow, that's amazing. So what's the process? Who's involved in helping the child get the limb and put it on and fit it to, I'm sure it has to be fitted to them. So how many people are involved in that process?
Today I have about 4 people in my core team, and I have about 30 volunteers that work with us from time to time. What we do is when we identify a child that cannot afford to get limbs, and probably by referral to the foundation, or probably we find them in the hospitals, or they listen to a program and decide to call in themselves, what we then do is we put them in a waiting pool. And then in the waiting pool, at the time we have the funds to do it, we get the funds in and we do a measurement of their limb. And once we, of the residual limb now, so probably the stump on the arm or the leg, and then we make the customization. We get a professional, like a technician, that gets the limb fitted. And once the limbs are fitted, we then teach the parents how to fit it for the kids. So I have a programs officer that focuses on that, making sure that the parents are taught how to, fix for their children. But we don't stop at that. We also have a support group system, which basically is via WhatsApp, via emails, where should they have any issue, they get back to us. And then on the group, other parents that are able to fit for their kids and use, then work with some other parents that are new to do that. Sometimes we also bring in amputees that are used to using their own limbs to train younger amputees on how to use the limb effectively. So basically, it's like a community. You have amputees teaching amputees. You have people from the Irede team teaching other people, and also you have other parents also showing their peers how they can be a part of their child's life and teach them how to use the limb.
It must be wonderful for parents to know that there's something they can do. I mean, to help the child work with the limb and so forth, because, I mean, as a parent, you want the best for your child. So it empowers everybody, I think. I think that's a really powerful thing to do. It's really
very true.
Yeah. So are you finding the need in different countries, or what countries are you responding to most?
What we're currently doing is we're focusing on Nigeria.
Okay.
Initially, when we started, even in Nigeria, we started from one state. in Nigeria. For perspective, Nigeria has 36 states. And what we've done over the last 7 years is to expand into 18 states. For us, we want to first saturate Nigeria and then start reaching out to other African countries. As it is currently, we have people from other countries already reaching out and asking if we can provide them with artificial limbs. The process that we've started so far is identifying volunteers that we can work with in these other countries. And then as the case will be, maybe in another 5 years, then we'll be able to extend our reach to other African countries by the grace of God.
Wow. It's still amazing. Even if it's just in Africa, that's incredible, because the first thing you said was you couldn't find anybody there to help your child. So this is an amazing thing. So
thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. So what do people need to know about the foundation? What are the key things about your foundation people should know about?
The first thing that I would like people to know is that we are that foundation that advocates for child amputees to be able to to live a fulfilled life and get back to school. Like I told you, in Africa, it's a taboo. So once a child has a disability or the other, they're kept away from the general public, which means they can't, have mainstream education. So we are that connect between them and the life that they would like to have. So basically, we also would like to be seen as the voice of amputees. So should you have any questions on amputation, how to go about it, rehabilitation, research, then we are the organization to come to, because we do quite a number of research in Nigeria on how the amputation of child amputees basically has evolved, and being able to showcase that it's possible to live a fulfilled life. We would also like to be known as that organization that provides support and succor for the caregivers. So caregivers now meaning parents, nannies, grandparents of children that have been amputated. Because they are children, they really can make a lot of decisions by their own. So the parents need to be equipped to be able to make the right decisions. So from emotional support to counseling to the psychological support that they need to be able to help that child grow and live a fulfilled life. So basically, those will be, for me, the three key things that I would like people to know us for. So we do what we call educate, which for us is educating the general public on amputation, on disability, and how to manage it, and realizing that we can bring societal stigmatization to the barest minimum. So under that also, we create awareness and advocate. So seeing how to change policies in support of persons with disability. The second thing we do is what I explained, which we call encourage, which is support for the parents of the child amputees. And then the third thing we do is what we call empower, which is basically where we provide artificial limbs for the children that can't afford it. And also where we do the peer-to-peer mentoring for the amputees, where an older amputee can mentor a younger amputee and show what is possible. So I think that's how I'll frame it in a nutshell.
That's quite a big nutshell. They're doing a lot of things, and it's so empowering. Are you also trying to change the mindset of people and how they look at a child with disability, so it's no longer a taboo?
Oh yes. And that's, the first thing that I call educate, which is basically where we create awareness, which is basically where we work on behavioral change and mindset of the general public, so that they can see that, there's that thing that we say disability is just a mind game. So basically showcasing and seeing how to create advocacy in terms of behavioral change for the general public.
Yeah, that's a wonderful and powerful thing to do. I noticed that you're traveling. So are you going around the world telling people about this? Or I know you're going to Dubai next week. So are you just going to have fun? You deserve it.
Okay. So next week, yes. Interestingly, it's not just going to be Dubai. I'm also going to be in the US. So I'm going to be having a couple of meetings with prospect donors, with partners on progress of the work that we've done and how we can take the advocacy to another level. But also, I'm going to be taking out time to rest. I've not had a vacation in 7 years, so I think it's a good time to rest.
Yeah, I mean, taking care of yourself is key since you're the heart of this organization. I mean, it's like,
Very true.
did you have any idea how big this was going to get? How big your foundation was going to get when you started it?
No. It was just me trying to fix my daughter and maybe one more person. I never knew it was going to be this big. I never knew. So for perspective, I'm a person of faith, so I'm a Christian, and the only thing I knew was I knew that she was going to be taken care of by God. How and what I didn't know. So I believe very strongly that this is a thing of, getting the needed support from God to comfort other people that need to get comfort. So I believe that that's what exactly has happened to me. I have, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for how big this has gotten. And honestly, I think it's even much, much more bigger than me. And it's going to transcend me.
Yeah, I think that's how everyone that I've interviewed has started something that touched them. And it has to be something that comes to your heart directly, because an abstract doesn't do it. And then all of a sudden, it just grows and grows and grows. And I think it starts with you and then it grows beyond you, but you're still the heart of it. So it's so important. And I think that you touched on something very powerful, and that is, in our hearts, we need to know everything's going to work out. We don't need to know how, we just know it's going to work out.
Very true.
I interviewed Brian Mayer, who works with veterans, and what he said is it's like a mission. He said, you know what you need to do, you know your objective, and you move forward, and you have no idea how it's going to work. So I think,
definitely.
Yeah, and I think it's having the courage, like you had the courage to move forward. You knew that there was something you had to do. And what did that take out of you? Was it hard to do?
Initially, yes, it was, because this was me leaving my comfort zone. My comfort zone was me being able to keep it to myself, right, that I have a child with disability. But I knew that it was important for me to do the right thing and not what is easy. Easy was to keep quiet about it. The right thing to do was to help someone else. So initially it was tough. It was hard on me. But as time went on, as I started sharing my story, as we started helping one child after the other, it became easier. I was able to see the bigger picture. And like I said, I don't even know what God has ahead for me, but I know it's a lot bigger. And I know it's not just about me, it's about other children. It's about changing lives. It's about transforming and making impact. So, wasn't easy initially, but now I would say I've learned to trust the process and just trust God all the way.
Yeah, but it's really funny. It has to start with us, but I think even in the beginning, there's something larger than you, and it's
exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing that you're demonstrating that I want people to hear loud and clear is how much personal power we have to make a change.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take money. It doesn't even take connections in the beginning. It's just the desire. Yeah. So you had no idea how big this is going to be. And I think you're just tip of the iceberg. As more people know about you, I think this is going to grow and grow. So what are you going to do in the US? Why are you coming here?
I want to meet a couple of people and just share the work that we've done so far, and also do a bit of learning on how they've managed their organization. Irede is 7 years, and in 7 years, we've been able to do 136 limbs, over the last 7 years. And like I said, we want to do full advocacy, create a lot of awareness, behavioral change, and there are already people that are doing the same thing. So it's to find, how do we do the connect? How Do we do like an exchange learning program and see what it is they are doing differently and how we can do that? So basically, that's it for me. And just share knowledge across board, and see what we can do differently over the next decade, since it's the decade of action. Yeah. So we want to focus on change, focus on impact, inclusive education, get more child amputees to live life to the fullest. And that honestly will be my dream. Some of the children want to swim, some of them want to model, some of them want to play football, and just see how we can help them realize those dreams of theirs.
So there's no limits what a child can do?
There is no limit at all. There's no limit. Well, if you can see it, if you can imagine it, you can have it. Yeah. So there's no stopping. Disability is not enough to stop anyone from achieving whatever it is they want to achieve. And that's my belief. That's the motto I've lived by. That's how I've brought up my child. That's how I bring up every child at the foundation. And for me, we will keep doing it one child at a time till we get there.
So how can people help you? What do you need for the foundation?
The first thing that I would say we need very basically is ensuring that you tell one more person that disability is a mind game, because that will help us to literally continue to change the mindset of people and create a behavioral change. We will be 10 years in 3 years' time, and we actually want to raise across the world 10,000 to 100,000 people advocating for child amputees across the world, ensuring that they get the right education, ensuring that they get the right access, ensuring that their future is enabled, basically. So I would want everyone listening to me today to just join our cause and be a part of this by just being that next person that is going to reach out to another person and tell them that it's possible. So for me, that's the first thing that I want people out there to do. And this you can do actually by following us across our social media pages, retweeting whatever we talk about, sharing it with another friend. And that for me will go a long way. Secondly, also, we want to be able to reach out to over 1,000 children, providing them with artificial limbs. And the unique thing about what we do is we don't just provide you an artificial limb, the first time. We're responsible for changing your limb till the child turns 18. So for me, that's it's like taking on the child for the best part of their lives as they grow, changing their mindset and all of that. So it will also be a call for people to join us in getting to this, do this. And then finally, just making sure that wherever you are, you do not discriminate against anybody with disability. And that for us will be you supporting what we're doing and joining our cause.
That's wonderful. And one of the things I want to go back to, you said it's a mind game. And please explain to people what you mean, because that's a very important piece.
So when you think of someone with disability or see someone with a disability, the first thing that you see is inability, right? However, I'll give an example of my daughter. I remember the first time she told me she wanted to swim. And in my mind, I'm like, how do you get to swim with just one leg? And she said, Mommy, I want to learn to swim. So basically, all I did was get her a coach, and she started swimming. And she started swimming so well and started getting into competitions. And it became, oh my God, she can swim. And then sometimes last year, she said, I want to ride a bicycle. Okay, we know that to pedal, you need 2 legs, right? And for me, I was like, no, you've learned to swim, it's fine. And now you want to ride a bicycle. And before you knew it, the question became, what do we need to do to get her to do what she wanted to do? And then we realized, okay, we can modify the bicycle for her. And everything was worked on. And she learned to ride a bicycle. I don't even ride a bicycle myself. And she rides the bicycle so beautifully. So like I said, if you can just imagine it, so you can be it and you can do it. So focusing more on the ability versus the disability is what we want people to see. And once you put your mind to it and say, I want to do this, then there's no stopping you. So for me, that's why I say it's just a mind game. I've seen people with cerebral palsy have 2 master's degrees. I've seen people with autism be the best mathematician ever. I've seen people without limbs dance beautifully. So it's just your ability to see that it's beyond what is trying to stop you. It's beyond the disability, right? And it's just focusing on your mind to have the right mentality to get on the right track.
That's such a powerful thing. And it shows us that human beings are so much more than our physical body. It's that will, it's
Very true.
that wonderful thing that's inside of us. And I love that your daughter just wanted to do what she wanted to do. She didn't care whether she could or she couldn't. She knew this is what she wanted.
Then she dances so well, it is unbelievable. And every time I see those things, every time I see her break those barriers, I just realize it's possible, right? And just like you said, it's about courage. It's facing it to see that, you know, is the courage to be, is the courage to dare, is the courage to become. And all of those things for me are just, you know, I keep telling her, keep doing daring, keeping at it. And once you can continue to do that, you will have whatever it is you can imagine. So again, it's back to the mind.
It is. And are you collecting these stories? That would make a great book if you collected these stories of these children who are just doing everything.
The stories of the children, not yet. But actually, I had a book published 3 years ago. So I have a book. It's on Kindle. And I think
what's the name of your book?
It's called Irede, the Unending Story of Hope. And it's on Amazon. And for me, it's for everybody that tries to find hope again. It's for everyone that feels like they've been dejected. And really, there's an inspiration that comes each time you read that book. I've had a lot of testimonies from people that have read the book. It's literally transforming. I'm currently working on a second book, which talks about parenting children with special needs. And so really for me, now that you've talked about collating the stories of the children and their possibilities, is something that I would honestly look at. But I think everybody should get the copy of the Irede book because it's absolutely amazing. It takes the story in totality, where I basically shared some of the pains I went through and how I was able to overcome it.
Okay. So the name I'm sorry, is IREDE?
Exactly.
Okay.
The Unending Story of Hope.
Okay. Yeah. And that's on Amazon and Kindle?
Exactly.
That's wonderful. I love it. And one of the things I love about you is how unlimited you are. And that is such a powerful message to put in the world because people are feeling powerless and they don't need to. So you are showing us that. So is there anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you want people to know?
I just want, I mean, we've said it in different ways here on the show, but I just want everyone to realize that they can be whatever they want to be. Life is going to put you down. Life is going to bring issues your way. Life is going to make you frustrated. Things will happen that will literally make you feel like you're unable to do it. But if you can only fix your mind on it, if you can get your gaze and your focus and your hope in what you believe, you would definitely. And I want everyone to keep doing daring, to have the courage to just keep moving on, even when it feels like you can't. And I believe that you will have joy and hope at the end of it.
Beautifully said. I can't thank you enough for bringing your radiance, and that's what's there, and that hope that's embodied in you. And one of the things that your hope is about, you've seen it demonstrated. So what's your next step?
Well, two things for me. Are you asking now on the personal front or on the business front?
Both of the above.
Okay, so I think I'll just share one on both fronts. The first one basically is I'm looking forward to Irede going more into advocacy, and we trying to ensure that we can change the minds of people. That's going to be our focus for the next 5 years as Irede. Then personally, I'm focusing on counseling and grief counseling specifically because I realize that a lot of people lose a lot of things, definitely not just death, loss of job, loss of spouse, a divorce, and whatever it is. And I just want to focus on being a grief counselor. So that's what I want to do in my life next.
That's all? No, nothing else? Like, this is
That's a
amazing.
lot.
It's a
That's a
lot.
lot.
It's more
That's
than
a lot.
most people ever do. So, Crystal, this has been such an honor to talk
Thank
with
you.
you. And thank you so much for taking the time. And please thank Nelson for me. I love him. He has been great in
I know, right?
Yeah.
He's a bundle of energy, and also that for me is the beauty of having the right people around you. I'm not sure we really talked about that. Something that's big for me is support, network, people. I've been blessed with the right team. I mean, just like you said, Nelson, like he literally made this happen. He takes the burden off you and ensure that he goes around. And not just Nelson, the rest of the people in the team, they make the work so easy. And I will encourage everyone to get the right kind of support our home, support our work, support emotionally, whatever kind of support you need to go for it and get it. So I'm blessed to have the right thing.
Well, it has to do with who you are. You attracted that. You are a light being, and so it's an honor to talk with you, and I'm so glad we had this time. And I just see wonderful things ahead for you personally and for your foundation. And again, thank you so much for taking time to be with Transformations. And I wish you so many blessings, Irede. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. And thank you to our Transformations audience. I hope you were inspired by Crystal and the Irede Foundation and what she's done. I mean, look at this. She had a personal issue and she turned it into this worldwide movement. And you have that same power inside of you. And it doesn't matter whether it's big or small. If it matters to you, it's going to matter to other people. So take hope from people like Crystal. So this is your host, Diane J. Shaver, saying, please join us next time on Transformations when I interview another world changer. And you can see all our interviews at www.transformationspodcast.com. And you'll also see our YouTube link. So we will see you next time.